of still you have a facility. I don't think you require any introduction for student to all. However, as a customer, I want to do this all brief about all. Because all of you know that we are setting the wash division here in campus. Student is the Vice President, Commercial and Center of the Robert Bosch Engineering and Business Solutions Center, Bangalore. He is responsible for the profitable growth of the Bangalore Development Center. He was the head of finance and accounting, that is F&A services business segment, which he pioneered in 2004 as a totally greenfield project and scaled its growth as a profitable business. He traveled extensively throughout North America and Paris. Mr. Venugopaal joined Bosch Group in July 1991. He has the head of accounting, controlling and business planning process at the then newly established Bosch plant near Bangalore for manufacture of starters, generators and increasing devices. In 1998, he moved to a newly formed IT and engineering services company, Bosch Group, as the head and finance accounting company. Venugopaal is postgraduate in commerce, MCOM and graduated from Naila College, Chennai. He is also a qualified cost accounting certificate. He completed a few short-term courses in IIM Bangalore, Ahmedabad, and also XLRI. He is a member of ICT panel and executive council of CA Bangalore Zone. He is also the executive committee member of the SAE Bangalore Division. He is very keenly interested in history, geopolitics, literature, philosophy, and law. He's a combination of many interests. He is chartered accountant, coming to manufacturing, now leading IT, and interest in philosophy. Anyway, before his years, you will hear a lot of things from this one. He has a lot of interest in telling other people. For example, last year also he had given a lecture at the same Musings, something like that. And he loves to tell others what are the key learned. Thank you, sir.
Nice words.
These are very good.
My voice is audible. Okay, so it is okay. The problem is we have a loud voice. Okay. Good. I am really happy to be here this evening. Thanks to AV for nice words. I have deliberately decided not to show any PowerPoint presentation. Sometimes, we get groups. Topic what I am going to speak to you on today is something very close to my heart. And you may wonder that how culture and globalization as a topic is relevant for management of, Sunday business and yarn. Just to give a background, if you look at a business community anywhere in the world, you cannot separate it from the society in which it operates. The business in US, the business in Europe, within Europe you have Germany, you have France, you have UK, you have Denmark, or Sweden, for example, or China, or Japan. So these countries have multinational corporations all over the world. They have branches all over the world. And you can very distinctly find out a Japanese company from a German company, from an American company or a Dutch company, because they have their own culture. At the same time, even many of the Indian companies are also opening up branches globally. Even a small company has some representation in different parts of the world. And I'm sure such companies will be viewed by those societies as a typical Indian company in many ways. So, while we talk about business, we talk about managing the business, we can't take away the cultural impact of the business in the country in which you operate. For example, even Indian companies in those days, I am talking about even centuries before, they used to trade with many faraway countries like Southeast Asia, like Rome, or Arab countries. The normal process is that the traders used to come over here, And our traders used to go to those countries, stay for a few months or a few years, establish contacts, develop the local taste of the culture. For example, you'll be wondering that many of the Indian communities, business communities, including 1,100, they have established strong business contacts as far away from India like Cambodia and Singapore. In fact, the names are all Singapore is basically a Hindu name. So that means they have business contacts because of the cultural contacts. In fact, Cambodia is known for many famous Hindu temples. It was ruled for 200 years by Hindu kings. Bali, for example, has a strong Hindu influence, Indian influence rather, basically from Orissa, which is called Kalinga in those days. So these kind of business influences on culture was very prevalent. Again, if you take the modern history, in the recent 100 years, in fact, many of the Indian companies did not establish any foreign branches. In fact, many foreign companies have established Indian branches. And I'm sure some of the senior managers sitting here will always be working for some MNC or other, some context. Even Indian companies, even small companies, they used to have some foreign branches even now, much less than 40 years before. Suppose a manager joins an organization at some level, certain part of his career. He gets inducted into the organization and he gets exposed to the organization culture and gets to know about the product, about other dynamics. And he, on account of business reason, he is expected to travel abroad. I'm sure every company has some employees of that company have traveled abroad to very even remote countries to establish business contacts. Such travels are all limited for a limited purpose for a few months or a few weeks. When they come back, the family is here. They used to go and come back. This has been the case for almost until 1980s or 1990s. You find that in a typical company, manufacturing company in India, it is a pride for an employee to say that I have visited many countries, working in such as Woods or some LMW or some other, company based on Coimbatore or any other part of India. I met a person from LMW about 1 year before in some context, and he told me that he lived in Turkey for about 1.5 years because he was a technical expert, and Turkey has a huge business on textiles, and he had to travel and live there. Of course, family was back here, and he lived with that particular Turkish language very fluently, and he can read and write Turkish language. That's a very rare quality. So such examples are not uncommon, and they are all prevalent in Indian companies. Not in large numbers, but in bits and pieces. Only specific people will be deputed for this kind of activity. And normally by the time they are deputed, they would have already put in sufficient years of service in the organization. They would have mentally matured to to handle this kind of unknown boundaries in terms of the travel and living there. But with the advent of service companies in the last 20 years, sometime between build-up 20s, you find that suddenly there is a sudden growth of service companies, many software-related companies, and their main business is export. They don't normally supply much services inside the country, at least not till 15 years before. The last 2-3 years, because of the global situation, now many companies are looking at India and looking at the country for software-related services. It could be tourism services, not necessarily software, or it could be many other services which require significant travel by associates of Indian origin to go and contribute, because services cannot be delivered in remote locations. You have to be physically present there and deliver those services. This has created a new environment for many of the Indian nationals. For example, I'm sure that you might have heard stories of a person coming from a very modest background, coming from rural background, studying in some college in Coimbatore or City Road or Salem, joined a company like Musings in in 1 year he is recruited abroad. To the US, to the some other country for 2 years, and it has become a prestigious issue now. If a person is recruited abroad within 1 year of joining the organization, and now it has become a competitive spirit among many of the youngsters that they choose, okay, when they join next company, they say, when you will send me abroad. And they say that if you don't send me in 1 year, you wait for 1 year, and if you are not sending me, I resign and join some other company. We get a lot of such resumes, and we ask them why you have left the company. They say there was no opportunity to travel abroad, and whereas here, this company, I for this. Okay. So even socially, even among family friends, it's a big pride for the parents to say that my son is in the US or my son is in such country, I've been there, and the family prestige goes up. And I can understand from a modest rural background, not so proficient in social skills, to get an opportunity to do like this is something commendable. So large number of Indian, young associates are now recruited abroad for service related abroad. If you look at the scenario from now on till for another 10 years or even 15 years, you find that the demographic profile of big countries like Germany or Denmark or Sweden or Japan, for example, is now tilting more and more towards the age distribution. That means the population is shrinking or is not growing, and even youngsters who are well qualified and who are financially independent, they choose to not get children. And with the result that the number of aged population is growing, and number of young people who are getting into the industrial segment are shrinking. In fact, the country is getting older very fast in Japan today. Yeah. And I'm sure even Germany is not far behind. China, surprisingly, is also getting older because of the single child policy which the Chinese government introduced now with hindsight thoughtlessly, because the result that the population is aging, and the demographic profile can't be changed overnight. It takes decades to change the demographic profile. So you find that many of the even people at lower ranks, for example, if you go to Gulf, you will find most of the semi-skilled Indian laborers are all working there for months and years. In some cases, in most cases, without family. In some cases, with family, they are fortunate to slightly higher level. And there is already the view that the demand for Indian nurses are going to be very high. And in fact, in aged countries, the aged population, people are looking forward to some nursing help to old people. They don't mind paying, and it's a lucrative offer for limited skilled people. And you find that many of the nurses, with the nursing qualification, go abroad and earn money and live there in those countries. So it is going to be inevitable for many of the Indian nationals to go abroad, and opportunities in the country is not very high, limited, even though India is growing, but the rate at which the young population is growing, young graduates coming in the industry is also equally very high. So not every one of them will get a lucrative job in India. They will definitely be looking for opportunities to go abroad. And even if the salary levels are slightly higher than India, they will definitely look for an opportunity. You find that some of them even go to illegal means to get employment elsewhere. Even in India, for example, there was a survey recently done. Even though the people are employed in companies for years, there is a question in the questionnaire. There was a survey recently done. Are you looking for a change of job? 80% of the people said yes. Yeah. So that means that even within India, people are looking forward for improved economic prospects, and if it is available abroad, I am sure they will definitely do that. So this is a new phenomenon. I would say in the last 15-20 years, this has gathered momentum. And I'm sure the audience sitting here, especially elderly people, at least not, there will be very few people here whose immediate family have not been stationed abroad. Mostly US, and if not US, at least in some other countries. Something. So, it is in this context I am going to talk to you about culture and globalization. This impact because of mobility. In fact, there was a recent article in The Economist where in the last 20-25 years, the number of people, immigrants, people across the world, has increased by 50%. That means not only in India, even people in other countries, they are always looking for opportunities to go to some other country to work, to earn a living. So this is going to be the trend in future. Compared to, again, earlier situation, for example, even in the past, I remember in 70s and early 80s, people who choose to immigrate to other countries were not uncommon. There are a lot of people who choose to immigrate to other countries. But the proportion of such people to the total population is very limited. Normally, most of them go to UK. 70s, there was a big migration of doctors to UK. And late 70s and early 80s, there is a big migration of highly educated scientists and technologists to US. When they go there, they aspire to go there, and they go and settle down there and merge with the local culture. They have been successful over a long period of time. And it is a conscious decision on their part, and they are mentally prepared for that. And they know that once they go, there is no question of coming back. So they have to be there. So they know very well that they have to adapt themselves to local culture. And they have become excellent citizens of the countries in which they have migrated. There are cases where for at least 2 generations of Indians living in the UK, US for that matter, and they have become part of the local culture. They have become one of the citizens of the country, even though they have the roots in India, but they want to live in the country. They want to become good citizens of the country where they are currently working. Back in the US, the most successful immigrant community is India. Next only is China. At least in the last generation, but this generation things are changing now. Chinese are becoming more prosperous than India, because the number of people going to US from India is not very high. So, in 70s and 80s, there were immigrations, and people used to go to that country and settle down there and enjoy the culture and establish themselves for a long period of time and merge with the culture. But right from 90s, the kind of migration has changed in India because of software and other service-related industries. If you take a software guy, he typically goes there for 2-3 years. And now the period has even shrunk because of many rules by the local governments. Because if you take US H1B visa, which is considered to be the most important visa for the skilled workers to go there, the number is getting restricted. And many people who go there, they don't want to come back, but the companies here are pulling them back because there are a lot of other people who want to go there at even lesser cost. So what they say is, you pull them back here, and the set of people again they go. And it is not that the guy who comes back he will never be here. He may go to some other country, or he may go to US again after some time. So the rate at which the people move from one country to another, and the period for which they stay abroad is now becoming very short. So I think we have become more or less like a short-term community. Anything is short-term. Nothing is long-term. So this has become our mindset now. And people are looking forward to this kind of an opportunity. And compared to the past migration, the current generation of people who go there, they have a clear mindset that they want to make use of the time to learn and come back. They don't want to have any mindset to go and be a good citizen of the country. It is very true even in US. And secondly, because of the limited time frame they have in mind, they also are not motivated to be a part of the country and live as a useful citizen of the country so long as they live there. Because again in 70s and 80s, many people go there, they know they are not going to come back. When they know that they are not going to come back, they have no other option but to be part of the country. Culturally, mentally, even though they have certain strong affiliations to India, probably Indian culture, but at least at the public level, they have become good citizens of those countries. Whereas if you look at these kind of young engineers, and they are also going at a much younger age compared to the past. I am sure in companies like Roots, if you in 80s, I am sure if somebody has to go abroad, he must have put in some years of service. I am sure 10 years at least, only then he will be going abroad. But here now, 1 year after joining, in some cases even 6 months after joining, they just packed and sent. And they are expected to be there for a couple of years and then come back. So, that's the point I just mentioned. So, the issue now is that what impact it has got on, it is in this context, we have to look at how culture and globalization are being viewed. You also find a lot of news items in the media, in the TV. One typical example is in Australia. Indians are being targeted for some crime, especially the students. Young Indian students who go there for studies, they are being targeted by the local thugs or local community there, and there are even murders. We have seen that early in the paper. US is relatively a different country because it's a country of immigrants. You always find people from different communities living there. Even there are pockets of specific culture. So, as an Indian, if you go and live in a community which are basically Mexican or Spanish, then you will also find that it is not very comfortable. And most of the Indians who go there, they go to places like New Jersey or Chicago or Boston, where there is a large Indian community, and they merge with themselves in that community. And they feel comfortable among Indians, even though they are living in US. So, if you look at in terms of the profile of the people who go, they are much younger, and they are not mentally mature, and added to that, they have a short-term orientation towards any such opportunities of going abroad. Today, if you take our company, we have software requirements almost all countries in the world. In fact, a couple of days back, I just approved one visa application for a person to go to Serbia, which was earlier Yugoslavia. If you read geography and history, you know that Yugoslavia was a country, and it was split into several countries, but not such countries called Serbia. And some of them go to Vietnam. We have an office in Vietnam. They are all unknown countries. I am not talking about US. I am talking about totally different countries. And the demand for software engineers in these countries is also very strong. And Indians are in demand, and they are expected to go there and deliver some business. And it is not that they just go for a week and come back. They are supposed to be there for 6 months to 2 years. So what is that they lack to be successful, apart from the job what they deliver, to be useful citizens of that country for the period they stay there? This is very important. It's a challenge for the individual, and we also know adapting to different culture is not natural to all of us. Some of us can adapt much faster. Some of us cannot adapt at all. I know through some of my friends who tell me that some of the international banks, like Deutsche Bank, they employ a lot of Indians. And when they join the company, they put them through a cultural profile. And if the cultural profile score tells that he has a high degree of cultural tolerance, they put him in countries outside India forever. He will never come back to India, because his cultural tolerance is so high. He will be successful wherever he goes. I know there are a lot of people, who get opportunities like this abroad and never come to India. Only one person I recently met in Deutsche Bank. He came because his mother is very ill, and he is already 50 plus. And he had to be with his mother, and he made a request and said that, okay, please at least post me for a couple of years in India, because I can't take my mother to the country where I'm living. So he says that if her period is over, then you go back and never come to India again. Okay. This is one set. But we are not going to talk about that set because they have a high level of cultural tolerance and they know how to be successful in alien cultures. We are talking about our neighborhood people, our own kith and kin, who don't have such a high degree of cultural tolerance, but would like to go abroad because it increases our social standing. Because among the relatives and friends, I can say I have been there. Like my profile right now, I have been to Paris, I have been to Germany, I have been to this country. You know, everybody like to say that. You know, that means you have traveled abroad and you have stayed there. And people nowadays, unfortunately, are looking at it as a money-making opportunity rather than as an avenue for them to be in a different culture to know something different. For example, in our company, we give liberal allowances for them before they go to equip themselves with proper dress, for example. We give them up to 10,000 rupees. Please buy warm clothes, winter clothes, and dress, shoes. Just go buy. They take the 10,000, produce fake bills, say that I have bought those clothes. And when they go there, again, the current trend is that a large chunk of people, 4 or 5 people go together, or even if one person goes together. You easily find that in the crowd, they are the ones who are poorly dressed. When you go to a country like Germany, which is again north of Germany or south of Germany, which is extremely cold, for example, many of our engineers are all there in the north of Germany, for example. They are the ones who are poorly dressed, including women. They have the thin, what you call salwar, and not even covered shoes. And we can easily spot them. This is one. And secondly, even if you give them sufficient allowances to live comfortably, they use it to save money rather than use this money to live comfortably in those countries. Not only North Indian also, it is same. Because their mindset is again, yes, I got an opportunity. I'll live it the way I used to live in India. I'll make use of every aspect of this to make money and then get back. Because these are not taxed, this is not my salary, and I need not have to disclose money, and I can take it and choose whatever I like to do with that money. In fact, there are a lot of complaints from our German counterparts that Indians don't behave properly. I remember when I went to Germany in 1995, you could hardly find few Indians in a place like Stuttgart. And Indians are known to comply with the rules and the laws of the land when they go abroad, but they don't follow in their own country. You tell them don't spit here, they'll spit here, but when they go abroad, they don't do. They know very well that you should not do, you'll be caught. At that time, there were only very few Indians. But now in 2005 and 2006 when I went, you find large chunks of Indians working there, young Indian guys, girls working together in many of these wash plants or other customer plants. And we could see a distinct cultural change in them. Because they are as a group, they think that they are in India and they behave like as if they are Indians. For example, in Germany if you go, there are no checking point anytime. When you board a train, you put a coin, get a ticket and board the train. At the appointed place, you just get down and walk. Nobody will ask you whether you have bought the ticket, whether it is checked. But in 2006 when I went, they have put ticket checkers in the trains, mainly because of the kids. Yeah. So these skills are totally different, profile to the people there that Indians are so and so. Bunch it together and say call them so and so. There were also instances where many of the landowners in Germany refused to give their house on rent to Indians. Simply because that they spoil the whole house and the kitchen is the worst part of the building and they don't maintain it properly. And when they leave, they don't hand over the property in the condition in which it was originally. So So in the last 5-6 years, they have put an additional clause saying that any Indian vacating the premises should give 300 euro as a cleaning charge. Whether he keeps the house well or not, he has to pay that money only, then you pay out. And because they are all looking for pots, then the complaints from the house owners to pots in Germany, they said that the Indians coming from, engineers coming from India, they are badly behaved. So they have to cover this 300 euros as a cleaning charge. This is one part of it. The other part is that they don't make any effort to know the local culture and local language and adapt themselves to the local environment so that they are good citizens of the local community in the short time they are in. Some of them are really good, I am not saying no to that, but unfortunately the number of people who are going today are so large, you can't filter them that this guy is excellent, only then I will send, this guy I am not going to send. There are cases where we also do a little bit of cultural profiling, not in a very, very strong way like what Deutsche Bank did, but we do that in a limited way. One guy may be professionally very good, well educated, technically very sound, but he may not get an opportunity to go abroad than the other guy who has recently joined, and we find him to be able to adapt himself well. And this guy feels bad that he feels that I am not given an opportunity to go. That guy has joined only last month, and you have sent him abroad. And if you tell them that you are not culturally adaptable to a new situation, they listen. Either they take it as an affront to their personality, and some of them leave and go. Some of them fight with their bosses, saying that unless you do this, I will not do X or Y or something. So this is becoming a big issue when it comes to sending them. I'm sure, I don't know whether the group sitting here, there are any software companies, but I'm sure it is the same problem with the CTF, the same problem with Infosys. Even to a large extent, even countries like US, now you know that Indians are represented everywhere. Practically even in US, which is supposed to be an immigrant-friendly community. And they are putting government-wise, they are putting private food restrictions and seeing to it that the number of inflow is very limited. Yeah, it will only going to increase. I am not surprised that if this is further tightened, it is going to be the situation. While we can lament about it, what we can do from all of us sitting here, either from the companies which are planning to send people abroad, or colleges who are generating large number of graduates, and how you prepare them to be good corporate citizens, especially when they are sent abroad. Yeah. What is that we can do? For example, in an organization, we have now decided that every guy who is going on a long term, 2 years or so, they should be given a complete cultural orientation. Now we have started giving cultural orientation in 3 different cultures: Germany, Sweden, and Japan. And all of them are not same; they are all different. We tell them what is right and what is wrong, how we have to behave. Yeah. And we also find that many of the Indians say they are very proud of Indian culture, and when they go and talk to a foreigner, they are not able to hold a conversation. Their knowledge is very limited and hollow, or they say that we have a great culture and we have a great religion. They talk all such things, but if you go deeper, they don't know much, and they fall out in a serious discussion with a foreigner about Indian culture. They don't know. So we have decided that we should give them some orientation about Indian culture itself, especially when they are going as single person to a customer site for a long period of time. We give them some orientation about Indian culture itself or Indian culture itself, so that they know that they talk sense, they don't talk nonsense. That is another. So this is on the organization side. I am sure it is not possible for every organization to do this. We are able to do that because we are a big multinational having presence in different parts of the spending money because we see that when an Indian software engineer goes and represents India in another country as a partner, it is important that he gives a fair view of the company, especially India, so that there is no negative impact. And thirdly, we find that their English knowledge is also very poor. And they think that, okay, Germans also don't know English, so how does it matter to them? But unfortunately, like English is a foreign language to us, even for Germans, English is a foreign language. But they learn with a lot of diligence and they try to speak as good as possible, whereas we think that we know very good English and we make a mess of it. Grammatically, even in terms of sentence or in terms of communication, we find that we are not up to the mark. So we have now decided that every person who goes abroad should undergo 1 month English course. They are all engineers, mind you. I am not talking about SSLC or a PUC guy. I am talking about qualified engineers with the bright academics. I am not talking about some lowly qualified engineers. So we have to expose them to grammatical English, writing English first, leave alone speaking English, and spoken English. Writing English, how to write written English for that matter. So that we put them, we have appointed an English professor to teach them basics of English communication. So this, I am sure that not all companies can afford this. But I think any company which is planning to send their people abroad in sufficiently large numbers, I am sure will address this in some way or other. If they are not able to conduct it, they will take care of the, take the help of some professional, trainers in this regard and make the employee himself to pay for it or share it on a 50-50 basis or some sort of. But more important, what is that can be done at the education level? For example, before they enter the job market. I am sure something can be done in this regard too, because this is going to be the fact of life. Probably in the family environment it may be difficult unless he comes from a really well-educated family with a lot of exposure to urban living with a multicultural environment. Not all families are bad, I am sure. But when it comes to some primitive families not exposed to different cultures, this has become a cultural block in them, and we have to unlearn a few things. And this is here where some of the educational institutions, if they choose to undergo this kind of training on a targeted basis, some of them can do, and prepare them for a global career. It's not just technical skills alone are important. Certain minimum, not only social skills, professional skills are important. For example, in India, we have a very loose concept of time. For example, when you say that 6:30 the meeting will start, 6:45 is 5 minutes. 7 o'clock is also 5 minutes. In India, after all, okay, what does it matter? 6:30 doesn't mean, okay, 6:45 is fine because there is a bus late, there is a traffic. We give hundreds of reasons why you become late. But the same reason will not be given, they don't come early. They know very well that 6:30 is going to start, they can't come at 6:15. But we don't do that. And to a large extent, it's a cultural phenomenon because our concept of time is, very round, not linear. Whereas abroad, most of the European and American culture of time is linear. For them, time is now. If you say 9:30 sharp, they look at it and say 9:30. There is a meeting at 9:30, you must be there at 9:25. So this concept of time probably had to intervene because this has become, it is impossible for all of us to become expert in all aspects of all countries' cultures. But there are certain aspects which are uniform across different cultures when it comes to professional behavior. So one such thing is having a clear linear concept of time and ask them to be timely in whatever they do. And this has to start at the college level. And tell them and ask them to practice. That is number one. Number two is conversation. This is an area again we find that many of them lack basic skills. A conversation is a skill because you should be able to talk something, ask, let the other person speak, and you respond. This is the major problem. We try to talk simultaneously. Ask 4 or 5 people together and ask them to have a whole conversation. You will find only cacophony in there. I try to say something, you butt in to say something, then I contradict something. So this is totally unacceptable in a professional environment. In a professional environment, you are supposed to speak, you are also supposed to listen. And when you are expected to give an opinion, you should be prepared only when you are asked to give an opinion. And there is a time for everything. There is sequence. Only that professional work can be conducted. You can't just be like yourself, even though you are the most brilliant guy, and don't know how to converse. So this is a major problem we face. How to converse? They are all very good at, public speaking. Coming on a stage, some of them think that social skills, communication is public speaking. But the important thing is conversation skills. How do people talk to each other? Yeah, that's the major one. Of course, there are other things like social skills, how to eat. For example, I have seen in many of wash plants, you are supposed to stand in a queue if you find many things, and you will find it in Japan. Japanese are the guys who are immediately tuned to a queue system. You go to a train station, you will find suddenly people forming a queue when the train comes in. It's amazing, Within few seconds they form a queue and they get into that in a very orderly way. But in India, we are not trained for that because we try to push our way through, whether it is a bus or whether it is a train, even a plane, for example. We try to rush it even though our seats are reserved. So this is again a competitive spirit which comes into that because of our cultural upbringing, and this has to be broken. And in a public environment, how to behave? You should not talk loud. You should talk to speak in soft voice. I have seen many of my German colleagues making some rude comments. Oh, there are a group of Indians making their phony. So even though we are Indians sitting there, we should know how to conduct ourselves in that situation. So here, I think some of the education institutions, if they prepare themselves, at least expose themselves to this kind of awareness and make them, prepare themselves in that kind of an environment, will go a long way in making successful career for such individuals abroad. And they should really be a Roman in Rome, not in Indian. Yeah. They should really look at merging with the local culture to the extent possible, even though the period is very short. Because during that period, you are expected to behave and respect the local laws and local culture. And today, I will not be surprised if this is not addressed. More and more media reports saying that Indians are attacked so-and-so, and Indians are disliked because they are very good and very, professionally much more competent than Australian or others. But the issue is not that. The issue is that we are not able to assimilate into the local culture and local environment in a very respectful way. In a very respectful way, we are not able to assimilate. And this has to be inculcated either at the organization level, or at the college level, or at the family level, or a combination of all. So this is very important. Here, one has to be successful global citizen. And that is going to be the day, order of the day today. Yeah, more and more time we will spend abroad. The successful Indians will spend more and more time abroad. And it is not going to be long term, it is going to be short. 2 years. You will find a SAP consultant typically in our organization, SAP consultant, who is a chartered accountant or an engineer who has qualified as SAP consultant. He would have been at least in 10 countries on an average about 2 years or 1.5 to 2 years, 20 years. His whole career is gone, finished. And he might have earned enough money, but at the end of the day, if you ask him what is that you have learned by living in different countries, he is able to express himself, that means he has become a good corporation. But if you say that, yeah, I've been there, I have never, it's not going seeing places. Many people do that. But being a local guy and enjoy being a local in that country is what is important. To the extent possible that you are able to adapt to this. This is what I wanted to say. And now we throw open questions. Any questions? No, it's not easy task. It's like trying to fill up water in a vessel by opening the tap at full load. You open it and close it when the off is full, even though much water has flown on. See, there is a time for assimilation. You can't assimilate in a short period of time. So, it has to be given in small bits and pieces so that the assimilation is there. And the point I am trying to make is we have to start in a small way at a very young age. Yeah? Yeah, schooling if it is not possible, at least college level. College level along with family level. Along with professional level. Even organization has to do that. Compared to, I think, 5-10 years before, the cultural, training opportunities are available now. In fact, if you look at intranet and internet, for example, you find a lot of organizations, a lot of professionals who give this kind of training. Some limited training, people have to undergo this. What is a professional culture? I'm not talking about US culture, German culture, or Swedish culture, or Japanese culture. That is a professional culture. And this is what we need to learn. And this has to be unlearned from the environment in which you live and get into this. You can sit down, sir.
Yeah, an embarrassing situation in Germany, there was in 1970, when I was a quarterback, I was in class. One German asked me, well, for you, Rama is a god, Lord Krishna is a god. And if I find Rama was trying to kill Wali in hidden conditions. Suddenly I was a little surprised. I was about 28 or so at that time. I could not immediately understand myself the reason why Rama was such a great god. And so, as you said, we are not bad, and we are not trying to understand our own culture sometimes very deeply.
Yeah, very objective way, Understanding our culture in a religious way is different from understanding the culture in a dispassionate, in a very open way. People are not asking for your belief; they are asking for certain factual information, and that itself we don't have today, unfortunately. And we must have the courage to say, "I don't know," and not give false information. And they respect you for that. Sorry, I don't know. I don't think I am fully equipped on this. I know certain practices, but I am not fully aware of it. And sorry, I am not able to give an answer. Rather than trying to give an answer of your own, thinking that you are given a great answer. That is what I am trying to say. There are many aspects which they don't cover. Telling lies, for example. It's the worst habit to have. Because in India, giving respect to others is very important, even if it means that you like it. But this is not the case in a social environment. We have to tell the truth in a way that is acceptable. And there are many like this. And this is the major problem. And some of them are able to adapt. I am not saying that city-bred guys are the best and the village-educated guys are the worst. I am not saying that. A lot of village-educated guys coming from rural area, they adapt themselves well. And there are city-educated guys who are not so good. But if a conscious awareness is created to them, at least they are able to go up a little bit in that regard, not to the fullest extent.
I would like to add just this one instance I had in Japan. We were meeting this advertising agency called Dentsu. And the meeting was fixed 1 year back with the exact location and time. 1 year back. 1 year back they told, let's meet at this restaurant at this time, and they were there sharp. Over here in India, even if it is an appointment for tomorrow, We tell 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, we will call, and then we'll say, chalta hai, chalta hai. And the problem is that not just the people who come late, but the people who actually accept them coming late.
Yeah, correct. That is true. Yeah.
And it's problematic because everyone's stuck in the system.
Correct. That is true. You are right. So this is what is important. That means in India be an Indian, but when you go abroad, be that country's person. You know, you can't continue to be an Indian there, saying that I do not know your way of working. You must learn fast, and you should adapt yourself fast. There are countries where, like India, people come late. People say in France, it's like that. It doesn't matter if it is in France, you behave like this, but not in Germany, who have a totally different attitude towards time. So this is the most important thing. Be sensitive to those countries' small nuances and adapt yourself to the extent possible. And if you are not able to adapt, at least be apologetic to that I am not able to adapt, for example, and tell the truth that you need some time to adapt yourself. There is no. Don't try to act smart.
And I would like to add also one more point. This is another thing that I found to be, I myself including, when I was overseas, I was guilty for doing this one particular thing. A lot of me and my friends used to think, used to have half knowledge about something, and we used to confidently vouch for it, like we knew it 100%. And only after a period of time I realized that having half knowledge is as good as not having knowledge about that certain topic at all. So that is also one more important lesson that I learned is that
in these days of internet, and people can find out very quickly that you are lost.
Correct. And like in our culture, that is also something that we are stuck in the system where even people with half knowledge, they would actually be so confident about.
And in the soft skills development, we say that be confident, be forceful in what you talk, even though it is not true. This is what we teach because that is what we try to say. Be impressive, But telling the truth does not have its payoff in India, unfortunately. Yeah. But we are the guys who are in demand abroad for many of our skills. We have a lot of skills, in fact, and we should be proud of those skills. And otherwise, you get to a situation where you find in, for example, in Australia.
And adding on to that, and the reason why it is necessary to not vote for something when we have half knowledge, especially in the context of these developed countries, once they realize that okay, this guy has half knowledge about things and he thinks it as facts. Once people get to know that, they're not going to believe anything that you say.
Exactly. You are doing a greater damage.
Yeah, in fact, it ends up being a greater damage.
The organization for which you are working.
And a lot of people do not understand the magnitude of. They may take it more casual, but the magnitude would be much bigger.
Okay. Any other questions?
It's a good thing that Indians are preferred by foreign countries, but the most good candidates are sent abroad. And irrespective of whether they, mingle and get used to the culture or not, they try to stay there. They try to get a green card or something. And what I'm trying to say is there's a brain drain. And what's your personal say on this?
Yeah, you see, it was true in 70s and 80s, but no longer true now. In fact, a lot of Indians want to come back. And there are a lot of young Indians who say that, yes, I go there for study, but I want to come back. Because opportunities are here better than those countries now. I also know a lot of people who have been to many of those countries. They have become good citizens in India when they come back. I have seen them, many of them, my own colleagues. I think that I have learned a lot and I have become an excellent citizen myself because of my exposure. That is what I mean by exposing yourself to the good things in our country. Not living in a cocoon and say that, I come here only for a short term and I go back so I can be whatever.
Talking about the punctuality of emails, maybe from your company, someone going abroad and they are not punctual. Rather than radiating the Indian culture. What if radiate the company culture of India?
Yeah, you are right.
What kind of influence that your company has given, though he has been brought up in Indian culture, he should be in your company at least for a year. But that culture should have been...
Yes, you are right. In fact, we give them a lot of induction training program and we tell them about the importance of time. But again, 20 out of 100 don't follow. We put them up. It is a question of behavior. And we have to continuously guide them to behave properly.
We will follow in India.
In India, exactly. So at the meeting at 6:30, I took pain to be here at 6:15. Yeah. So this is because of 20 years of my, what you call brainwashing them. And this is not only in our company. Every company today needs this. I'm sure, even rules. If you have an appointment with a counterpart in Germany or somewhere in a telecom, you have to be there at the time and deliver the data. It is just not only for us, not only multinational, even the team companies, who have clients abroad. It is important. The timeliness is important.
Another point, Germany will be for 8 hours. The same German company working here, they will be for 18 hours.
Which is to a large extent not true in our company at least. We make it a point that, yes, there are requirements because of the project, sometimes we may have to work longer. But as a policy, we don't exploit people on this. Maybe some other companies may do it, but not us.
Many people going for free on Friday.
TCS is known to be very honest. I should not name the company, but many other Indian corporate companies are well known for us. Because they are under tremendous project pressure and because of lack of project pressure, whoever works, they just dump them and ask them to. There are instances where my own relative, is not allowed to come out on the weekend. And they have given him a dormitory and say, you sleep here and we'll give you food here, but complete the project and go. It's like almost like imprisonment. Yeah. Okay, again, these are all, okay, you can't say that these are all highly prevalent. These are all there in few instances, but not in all cases. I'm sure a lot of Indian companies who are much more progressive when it comes to this kind of things. When we have examples here, we also have examples in other.
One more point I would like to add here is Denmark landlord lady, she was objecting me staying in the house because we need to cook several times and the cooker is making a lot of noise. Exactly. And more people join together, why don't you all cook one? And you cook 3 dishes 3 times.
You are right. And in fact, we use all the spices. People take the spices from India and go there and spoil the whole. And those one example, I can keep on talking. Last week, one guy switched on the kitchen heater and he forgot to switch it off. And he removed because they are all electric heater. You can't make out that it is on. So he went to work. And he has closed all the, because the aroma of Indian spices go out, he has closed the windows and he went to work. Not time. And we had to pay close to about 20,000 euro as damages. The company has to pay. And we tried to recover from him some amount, but 20,000 euro is a huge amount. His entire 10-year savings will not be sufficient to repay that. And they are very particular that it's only safety related issues. And we are so attached to our tongue. For example, we are not prepared to even try other dishes outside. We just refuse mentally. Yeah, it's a major problem. You must adapt yourself to different taste. It's a matter of taste. You can't have your sambar, rasam, idli, vada everywhere every day. Yeah. And wherever you are in Serbia, you want that. You want in Japan, Tokyo, you want that. And you are in Germany, you want that. Okay. In a country like US, probably it may be possible. That may be an Indian store or you may be able to buy that. But in a remote country like Serbia, where will you go? And this guy is from Vetupalayam. I'm not saying Vetupalayam guys are bad. I'm just saying he has never been abroad, for example. And he was jittering, literally jittering. Sir, I have been asked to go to Serbia, sir. What I told him, yes, you get exposed and tell your boss that you need a little time to prepare yourself and go to internet, read about that, and prepare yourself. This is a big challenge. I really pity those guys, for example. I'm not blaming them. It is a big strain on them, and they have to undergo that because they are in that industry. That's the problem. Okay, I think we are. Okay, that's a good question. In fact, our personality is one thing which they admire. See, for example, we can talk on, we can do several things at the same time. And our solution-oriented mindset is what they like. You put a lot of constraints, and you are able to find a solution in spite of the constraints. And this is one quality most Germans have, because they say that we are not tuned for it. And thirdly, we do a survey with all our German clients about what is your opinion about Indian approach to it. We scored very well on flexibility. We are extremely flexible. Yeah, very flexible. You give a time now, and so you give a short notice that I want this project to be completed. We go out of the way and complete it because we try to please. The tendency to please is very strong in us, whether it is our own parents or our own boss, so that we get a psychological boost. So this is ingrained in us. So whereas the German will say no. Even his own boss, he will say no. But we won't say no, because saying no is considered to be disrespect. So we somehow go out of the way and do that. So it is coming at a scoring point. Then you are flexible. And there are also guys who take advantage of flexibility and dump, as I rightly said, a lot of projects that are very short timeline. But they also say we are not quality conscious. Work output is not to the level what they expect. And they also say that overall we don't consider all factors before carrying a decision. These are all some of the negatives. Flexibility is one, or personality is another. These two are yeah, if it is over, thanks for your patience in coming here. And